They laughed, they mocked, thought her small and weak, a quiet recruit, too shy to speak. But 30 seconds, just one fleeting test, revealed her courage, her skill, her best. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you never miss an amazing tale like this. Now, let's jump into the story of a recruit who stunned everyone in just 30 seconds. The sun rose slowly over Fort Mitchell, a modest military training base tucked into the rolling hills of rural Virginia. Birds called softly from the trees lining the perimeter, and a faint mist clung to the edges of the asphalt roads. To anyone passing through the gates, the base looked quiet, almost peaceful. But inside, the hum of rigorous training, orders barked, and the clanging of metal from the armory told a different story. Among the new recruits stepping onto the base that morning was Maya Reynolds, a woman in her late 20s with an unassuming frame and quiet eyes that seemed to take in everything. She carried herself with a disciplined posture, the faint echo of confidence in her measured stride. Despite her calm exterior, her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. This was more than just a training ground, it was the proving ground, a place where her years of preparation would be tested under fire. Maya had grown up in a small Virginia town, where she had learned resilience the hard way. Her father, a retired Marine, had instilled in her a sense of duty and discipline, while her mother, a schoolteacher, had nurtured her intellect and empathy. Those two influences shaped her into someone who could face both physical challenges and moral dilemmas with equal strength. Yet, despite her upbringing, she knew she would face skepticism here, especially from other recruits, who judged her by her appearance and her quiet demeanor. As she walked past the rows of bunks, she noticed the subtle glances from the others. A cluster of 4 recruits, 2 men and 2 women, were huddled near the mess hall entrance, whispering and snickering. Maya tried to ignore them, focusing on the rhythm of her footsteps and the feel of her uniform. She had learned long ago that the world often underestimates quiet strength, and she intended to let her actions speak louder than words. The mess hall was a modest, concrete building with long tables and benches bolted to the floor. The smell of eggs and coffee hung in the air, a welcome contrast to the cold, clinical scent of the barracks. Maya stepped inside, tray in hand, and scanned for an empty seat. Her eyes met the corner table where the 4 recruits had gathered, and she sensed their amusement before they even spoke. "Well, if it isn't the quiet little recruit," one of them said, a tall man with a smirk that suggested he enjoyed the discomfort of others. "Bet you can't even carry your tray without spilling it." The other 3 laughed, a sound meant to unsettle her, to remind her that she was the outsider. Maya's lips curved into a faint, polite smile, but her eyes remained steady. She didn't respond immediately. She knew that any hasty word could feed their amusement. Instead, she set her tray down and chose a seat at the far end of the table, where she could observe without drawing attention. Yet the whispers continued, each jab meant to probe her, to see if she would falter. "You new recruits are always so delicate," one of the women added, her voice dripping with condescension. "Hope you're ready for what's coming. It's not a daycare here." Maya nodded silently, though inside a spark of determination ignited. She had faced tougher challenges before, physical, mental, and emotional, and she knew that the real test would not be proving them wrong immediately, but enduring, adapting, and showing strength when it mattered most. Breakfast continued in a tense rhythm. The 4 recruits kept glancing at her, exchanging smirks and whispered bets about whether she could keep up with the pace of training. She noticed the way they sized her up, their posture relaxed and superior, convinced that she was an easy target for ridicule. Maya's mind wandered briefly to her training back home. Early mornings running through muddy trails, hand to hand, combat drills with her father, hours spent in the gym perfecting endurance and agility. All of it had led her here. She knew she was ready, though they had no idea. And that was exactly how she wanted it, her strength hidden behind a calm exterior, underestimated until the moment she chose to reveal it as the last of the eggs, and toast disappeared from the tables. The drill sergeant's sharp voice cut through the chatter. "Recruits, fall in line." The four who had been mocking Maya straightened immediately, their arrogance faltering under the weight of authority. Maya rose as well, moving with purpose to join the formation. She could feel their eyes on her as she fell into place beside the others, their gazes now curious rather than mocking. She didn't react. She had no need to. Respect, she knew, could not be demanded. It had to be earned. For the next hour, the recruits marched in formation across the base, learning the routines and listening to the commands that would govern their days for months to come. Maya's movements were precise, her posture flawless. Yet she kept her head down, not seeking attention, letting her competence speak silently through every step. Even during physical drills, where others might try to dominate or show off, Maya's strategy was different. She focused on efficiency, conserving energy while maintaining speed and strength. The other recruits were still whispering, still smirking, but a few couldn't help noticing that she was keeping pace without struggle, her movements fluid and deliberate. By the time the sun had climbed higher, the first hints of frustration were visible on the faces of the mocking four. They hadn't expected her to handle the basics with ease, and they certainly hadn't expected her calm endurance. But their pride kept them silent, each waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike again. Maya, meanwhile, felt a quiet satisfaction. This was just the beginning. The base was full of challenges, both seen and unseen, and she intended to meet each one head-on. Her heart held a mixture of anticipation and resolve. She had chosen this path knowing the obstacles, knowing the skepticism she would face, and she was ready to prove, in her own time, that she was far more than they imagined. And she knew that moment would come sooner than anyone expected. The morning drills at Fort Mitchell had only just concluded, and Maya could feel the ache in her muscles, a reminder that even the most disciplined body needed time to adjust to new demands. The mess hall, now emptied of the rush of breakfast, smelled faintly of coffee and stale toast. Outside, the sun glinted off the metallic surfaces of the training grounds, casting long shadows that shifted with every move of the recruits. Maya moved methodically, returning to her bunk to arrange her belongings. She kept her personal space minimal, valuing efficiency over decoration, a habit ingrained during her early training with her father. Each item had its place, every fold of her uniform precise. It was a silent declaration. Discipline was her. The lie and chaos had no claim over her. The mocking four, however, were already watching her as she walked. From their vantage point near the rows of bunks, they whispered to one another, exchanging smirks and making notes that Maya could not hear but could sense. Their tactic was subtle. Intimidation without confrontation, ridicule without open challenge. It was a psychological game, one they thought they were winning. "Well, looks like the quiet one finally moves," the tallest male, Travis, muttered. He leaned against the bunk rail, arms crossed. His voice carried that confident arrogance that comes from believing oneself untouchable. "You think she's going to collapse by lunchtime?" added Jenna, the woman with the sharpest edge of sarcasm. "Bet she's never even done a pull-up," said the second man, Mark, laughing under his breath. Maya heard the words, of course, but she did not respond. She had learned early that reactions often fueled the very behavior one wished to ignore. Instead, she kept her focus on her own preparation, quietly planning for the next set of drills. The first formal training session of the day was physical endurance. The recruits were led across the base to the obstacle course. a sprawling assembly of climbing walls, ropes, tunnels, and balance beams. Maya's heart quickened, not from fear, but anticipation. She had trained for obstacles like these for years, yet she never underestimated them. Each challenge demanded respect and attention, a balance of mental focus and physical capability. Travis and the others started the course with a sense of superiority, mocking smaller obstacles and laughing. When less experienced recruits struggled, Maya approached the first wall with calm determination, studying its height, its handholds, the texture of its surface. She did not rush. She measured. She executed. With a single fluid motion, she scaled it and landed softly on the other side. Hardly making a sound, the four had turned to watch, expressions frozen. They had expected hesitation, maybe a stumble. But Maya's composure remained intact. Her smooth efficiency was unnerving, a quiet assertion of skill they had not anticipated. Beginner's luck, Jenna muttered under her breath, though her tone betrayed doubt. As the recruits moved through the course, Maya maintained her rhythm. The rope climb, the balance beams, even the long crawl through the mud tunnel, each was met with precision and quiet strength. Occasionally, she glanced at the others, noting their frustrations, their faltering confidence. It was not schadenfreude. That spurred her, but observation. She understood human nature, the way pride often blinds individuals to their vulnerabilities. By mid-morning, sweat coated her uniform, and her arms burned with exertion. Yet inside, a fire of satisfaction burned. Brighter. The obstacle course was not just a test of strength. It was a test of endurance, of mental clarity under stress. Maya's mind remained sharp, her decisions deliberate, each movement calculated to maximize efficiency while minimizing effort. During a brief break, the recruits gathered near the training shed. Maya sipped water quietly, listening to the conversations that swirled around her. Man, she's fast. I've never seen anyone move like that, Mark admitted reluctantly, though he couched it in sarcasm. Travis scowled. Don't get soft on her. She's still a rookie. Wait until we push her harder. Jenna's gaze lingered on Maya. I don't know. Something's off. She's too composed. Maya said nothing, only allowed a faint, polite smile. She had learned that quiet observation often revealed more than words ever could. Every interaction, every glance, every whispered judgment was a clue to human behavior, and she intended to use those clues when the moment came. The next drill was hand-to-hand combat. Recruits paired off, practicing defensive and offensive techniques under the watchful eyes of instructors. Maya paired with a burly male recruit named Eric, who had a reputation for being aggressive and dominant in the exercises. He smirked. Her, clearly expecting an easy match. Ready to go down easy? He sneered. Maya responded with calm. Let's just do it right. The first few minutes were testing the fundamentals: blocks, strikes, footwork. Eric attacked with force, trying to intimidate her with size and aggression. Maya remained centered, absorbing his energy, redirecting it, using leverage rather than brute force. Within seconds, she had turned his momentum against him, gently but decisively throwing him off balance and pinning him. The instructor's whistle blew. Excellent technique, he said, raising an eyebrow at Maya. Eric's face was red, a mix of embarrassment and surprise. From the sidelines, Travis and the others stared, mouths slightly agape. Their whispered bets about her weakness had faltered, replaced by something heavier: curiosity, tinged with apprehension. The day continued with a mix of drills, endurance runs, tactical exercises, teamwork challenges. In every exercise, Maya demonstrated competence that bordered on exceptional. Yet she never flaunted her skill. She remained composed, silent, focused, allowing others to underestimate her as long as possible. During a tactical simulation in the afternoon, the recruits were tasked with securing a hostage scenario. Maya's group was initially assigned to a defensive position, while Travis' group took an offensive approach. The simulation demanded split-second decisions, awareness, and coordination. Maya observed the terrain, the positions of her teammates, the likely moves of the enemy. When the action commenced, she moved with precision, directing her teammates subtly, covering blind spots and neutralizing threats before they became serious. The exercise ended with her group successfully securing the hostage and minimizing risk, a result that drew nods of approval from instructors. Travis and the Mocking Four approached her after the exercise. Their earlier bravado was muted, replaced by restrained acknowledgement. "Okay," Travis admitted reluctantly. You handled that better than I expected." Jenna tilted her head, scanning Maya with an analytical expression. "You're full of surprises," she said, though there was no warmth in her tone. Maya inclined her head slightly. "I'm just following the training," she replied. Simple, calm, unprovocative, yet her words carried weight. They recognized the truth behind them. She was no ordinary recruit. As evening fell, the recruits returned to the barracks, muscles aching, minds buzzing. Maya found herself alone for a moment, reflecting on the day. She allowed herself a small smile. The first round of trials had exposed her skill and endurance, but it also exposed human nature, the way arrogance and underestimation could blind people to reality. She knew that the Mocking Four were not yet defeated. Pride and stubbornness would keep them trying, testing her, seeking to provoke a reaction. But Maya also knew that the moment would come when her quiet strength could no longer be ignored, and when it did, the truth of her capabilities would be undeniable. That night, as she lay in her bunk, listening to the soft snores and rustling of the other recruits, Maya allowed herself to think beyond the drills and exercises. She thought of her purpose, of the years of preparation and sacrifice that had brought her here. She thought of her father's lessons, her mother's guidance, and the countless hours of training that had shaped her body and mind. And she allowed herself a quiet determination. The moment would come, and she would be ready. The mocking, the underestimation, the whispered bets, they were mere shadows. She was the storm, waiting for the right time to reveal herself. The morning at Fort Mitchell dawned cold and gray, the kind of chill that seeped through layers of uniform and armor alike. Maya awoke to the sound of the drill sergeant's whistle slicing through the barracks at an ungodly hour, the shrill tone cutting through dreams of home, family, and the quiet moments of comfort she sometimes allowed herself. She swung her legs over the edge of the bunk, muscles still stiff from the previous day's exercises. Her body ached, but Maya welcomed the pain. It was a sign that she was pushing limits, both her own and those imposed by the skeptical eyes around her. Breakfast was subdued, the recruits moving silently, many nursing bruises or soreness from the day before. Maya took her tray and moved toward the corner of the mess hall, her usual spot. The Mocking Four, Travis, Jenna, Mark, and Olivia were already there, their whispers carrying across the polished floor. "Didn't think she'd make it this far without collapsing," Olivia muttered, loud enough for Maya to hear. Travis smirked, adding, "Maybe today we'll finally see if she's all talk." Maya set her tray down, her face composed, her eyes calm. She didn't respond. That was her strength. Her silence and presence were far more unnerving than words. The four recruits' laughter and whispered bets were like background noise, easily ignored when her mind was focused on strategy, observation, and preparation. After breakfast, the recruits were led to the training field for a new series of exercises, a combination of endurance, tactical maneuvering, and teamwork under simulated combat conditions. Maya felt a familiar surge of anticipation. While others often approached these drills with anxiety or bravado, she embraced them as opportunities to refine skill and test resolve. The first exercise was a long distance, run through uneven terrain, surrounding the base. The path twisted through mud, grass, and rocky inclines, each step requiring careful calculation. Maya set a pace that was steady but sustainable, conserving energy while maintaining speed. She noticed the 4 recruits behind her, their expressions shifting from smugness to frustration as they struggled to keep pace. During the run, subtle moments of observation revealed cracks in her peers' confidence. Travis stumbled on a loose rock, catching himself with a curse. Jenna's breathing became uneven, and Mark began lagging behind, gritting his teeth in frustration. Olivia, usually quick and agile, seemed distracted, throwing glances over her shoulder at Maya with increasing concern that Maya didn't gloat. She knew that patience and consistency often outweighed brute force and impulsiveness. She focused instead on her own rhythm, her breathing steady, her mind clear. Every step, every movement reinforced a simple truth. Endurance was as much mental as it was physical. When the run ended, the recruits barely had time to catch their breath before being directed toward the next challenge, a tactical simulation involving a mock hostage scenario. This exercise demanded awareness, communication, and decisive action. Teams were assigned defensive and offensive roles, with instructors observing every movement. Maya's team was defensive again, a role she had learned to embrace. As the scenario unfolded, she quickly identified weak points in the mock enemy's approach and adjusted her teammates' positions silently. Her commands were minimal, subtle, almost imperceptible to those not paying close attention. Yet the results were clear. The defensive team held their position, secured the hostage, and neutralized threats with remarkable efficiency. 4 mocking recruits, assigned to the offensive team, fared poorly. Their overconfidence led them into predictable patterns, their attempts at improvisation clumsy. Travis cursed under his breath as Jenna struggled to follow his lead. Mark hesitated at critical moments, unsure of whether to attack or retreat. Olivia attempted to compensate for the group's errors, but her efforts alone could not change the outcome. When the exercise concluded, the instructors gathered both teams. Maya's group received praise for composure, strategic thinking, and teamwork. Travis and the others received pointed criticism. "You relied too much on brute force and assumptions," one instructor said. "Situational awareness is not optional. Planning and patience save lives." The 4 recruits scowled. Maya's silent presence stood in contrast, her calm demeanor a quiet rebuke to their arrogance. They began to understand, even if unwillingly, that she was not an ordinary recruit. Later that afternoon, the base organized a combined exercise of physical endurance and tactical problem-solving. Maya's group was tasked with navigating a complex obstacle course while carrying weighted packs, simulating the burdens of extended operations in the field. The course demanded strength, balance, and strategy, climbing walls, crawling under nets, balancing across beams, and maneuvering through confined spaces. Maya approached each obstacle with methodical precision. Where others relied on brute strength, she used leverage and calculated movement. She scaled walls with a combination of agility and momentum, balanced across beams without hesitation, and crawled through narrow tunnels with quiet efficiency. Each maneuver was deliberate, conserving energy while maintaining speed. The 4 mocking recruits struggled visibly. Travis attempted to power through obstacles without technique, leading to missteps and minor injuries. Jenna's focus wavered as frustration mounted. Mark's coordination faltered under exhaustion, and Olivia's attempts at compensation exposed the group to further setbacks. Maya reached the final obstacle, a suspended rope bridge over a simulated chasm. She paused briefly, analyzing the swing and tension. With a controlled leap, she navigated the bridge flawlessly, landing softly on the other side. The instructors nodded in approval, recognizing not just physical ability, but mental acuity, the capacity to assess risk, maintain focus, and execute under pressure. As the day wore on, Maya's skills became increasingly apparent. Small victories, subtle, but decisive, accumulated in ways the mocking four could not ignore. Their whispered bets turned to stifled murmurs of concern. They were beginning to realize that she was not merely competent. She was exceptional. Despite the growing tension, Maya remained emotionally balanced. She understood the psychological dynamics at play. Underestimation, arrogance, and pride often led people to overextend themselves, revealing weaknesses. She watched, waited, and learned, storing insights for moments when action would matter. By evening, the recruits were exhausted, both physically and mentally. Maya returned to the barracks, muscles heavy but spirit steady. She allowed herself a brief reflection. The day had tested not just endurance, but patience, observation, and composure. She had met each challenge on her terms, silently earning recognition without the need for confrontation. But she also understood that true tests were yet to come. The mocking four would continue to seek an opening, a moment where they could assert dominance and undermine her. And she knew that when that moment arrived, her response would need to be precise, powerful, and undeniable. Later that night, Maya sat quietly on her bunk, reviewing the events of the day in her mind. She replayed every interaction, every movement, every glance. She identified patterns in her peers' behavior, anticipating future challenges and potential confrontations. The four recruits' arrogance and underestimation were not weaknesses. They were tools she could use, provided she remained patient and disciplined. Her thoughts drifted briefly to the larger purpose of her training. This was not just about survival or competition. It was about mastery, about understanding oneself and others under stress. Each obstacle, each simulation, each test of endurance was a lesson in resilience, strategy, and emotional fortitude. Maya's body and mind were being honed not for show, but for the moments that demanded precision, courage, and unwavering clarity. She allowed herself a small, quiet smile. The day had been challenging, but it had also been affirming. She was exactly where she needed to be, prepared for the trials to come, ready to reveal her true capability when the time was right. As the barracks settled into silence, Maya closed. Her eyes, muscles sore, but heart steady. She understood the path ahead. More challenges, more tests, more confrontations. But she also understood something more profound, the strength of patience, the power of observation, and the quiet, relentless force of a disciplined mind and body. And she knew, deep within herself, that the moment of reckoning was approaching. The mocking four would not anticipate what was coming. The base, the drills, the challenges, they were all stages upon which she would demonstrate the truth of her strength. The night passed in quiet anticipation, Maya's mind alert even in rest, her body recovering while her resolve sharpened. She was ready for the next day, the next test, the next confrontation. And when the time came, the results would be undeniable. The sun rose over Fort Mitchell like a slow promise, painting the barracks in gold and shadow. Maya woke before the alarm, her body still sore from the previous day's exercises, but her mind sharp and alert. Today was different. She felt it, in the tension of the air, in the subtle shifts among the recruits. The mocking four, Travis, Jenna, Mark, and Olivia, were circling, like predators waiting for a sign of weakness. They had grown increasingly bold, their whispers and stares becoming more frequent, more pointed, each glance a challenge. Maya didn't react. She understood the psychology of underestimation, the way arrogance created opportunities. She moved with calm precision through the morning routine, every motion efficient, deliberate. She noticed the glances, the subtle shifts in posture, the tension in the air. These were the cues she would need when the moment arrived. Breakfast was a tense affair. The mess hall, usually noisy and chaotic, felt like a stage set for confrontation. The 4 recruits sat at their usual table, a center of their informal hierarchy. They watched Maya as she approached, her tray steady in her hands, her posture confident. "Thought you'd be late today," Travis said, loud enough for others to hear. The smirk on his face calculated to provoke. Maya's eyes met his for a brief second. No words, no acknowledgement, only a calm, steady gaze that unnerved him more than any verbal response could. She slid into a seat at the far end of the hall, away from the group, her presence silent but undeniable. The murmurs began almost immediately. "She's too quiet. Something's off about her," Olivia whispered to Jenna, her tone uneasy. Maya didn't flinch. She ate methodically, focusing on her own movements and the subtle exchanges around her. She noticed how the other recruits shifted in their seats, the way they glanced at her, the little signs of insecurity growing. Every observation was a piece of a larger puzzle, one she had been quietly assembling since day one. After breakfast, the recruits were led to the tactical simulation field. Today's exercise was more complex than previous drills, a combination of obstacle navigation, mock combat, and decision-making under pressure. Maya's team was assigned a defensive role again, while the mocking 4 were offensive. The scenario was simple in theory: retrieve a package from the opposing team and return it to base. The twist was that the terrain was unfamiliar, filled with unexpected obstacles and traps that required not just strength, but strategy, patience, and acute observation. As the drill began, Maya moved with practiced precision, her body flowing through obstacles with calculated grace. She observed the movements of the opposing team, the 4 recruits recognizing patterns and anticipating missteps. Their overconfidence was palpable, their energy uneven, their attention divided between boasting and execution. Travis led the charge, his approach predictable. Maya noted the angles, the timing, the weaknesses in their coordination. When Jenna stumbled over a low barrier, he tried to correct her, but the momentary distraction was enough. Maya's team moved with silent efficiency, exploiting openings with minimal movement but maximum effect. The mock combat began. Maya stayed low, her eyes scanning, her body coiled like a spring. She neutralized threats with precise maneuvers, guiding her teammates with subtle hand signals, ensuring their success without drawing attention to herself. The mocking 4 were flustered. Travis's arrogance turned into frustration as each attempt was countered. Jenna's panic grew, Mark's hesitation became apparent, and Olivia's attempts to salvage their efforts were frantic, uncoordinated. Their underestimation of Maya's skill and composure was becoming painfully obvious. Then it happened, the pivotal moment. Maya noticed an opening. The 4 recruits, overconfident and rushing, left a small but critical gap in their formation near the central objective. It was the moment she had been anticipating, their arrogance creating an opportunity. She moved swiftly, but with complete control. In less than 30 seconds, she navigated through the obstacle course, neutralized the 4 recruits' attempts to intercept her, and secured the package with flawless precision. The instructors watching froze, recognizing the efficiency and skill displayed. The mocking 4 could only gape, stunned by the sudden turn of events. Maya didn't gloat. She handed the package to her commanding instructor with calm dignity, her breathing steady, her composure intact. The room, previously filled with whispers and laughter at her expense, fell silent. The realization settled over the mocking 4 slowly, painfully. They had underestimated her, and in doing so, had been outmatched completely. "Outstanding execution," the instructor said, nodding at Maya. That was textbook precision under pressure. You didn't just react, you anticipated. That's the difference between competence and mastery. Travis opened his mouth to argue, but the words caught in his throat. Jenna looked down, unable to meet anyone's gaze. Mark's jaw tightened, and Olivia's face flushed with embarrassment. For the first time, the balance of perception had shifted. Maya was no longer just another recruit. She was a force, disciplined and formidable. After the exercise, Maya's team was debriefed. The instructors emphasized the importance of patience, observation, and strategic thinking. They praised Maya quietly but explicitly, noting her ability to maintain composure and execute under extreme pressure. The recognition was professional, factual, and undeniable, the kind that could not be dismissed or undermined. Back in the barracks, the 4 mocking recruits retreated into a corner, their silence a sharp contrast to their previous arrogance. They whispered among themselves, trying to rationalize the unexpected outcome. Their underestimation of Maya had not just failed, it had been exposed in front of everyone. Maya returned to her bunk, allowing herself a moment to breathe. She felt the satisfaction of justice, not personal revenge, but the vindication of skill, preparation, and resilience. She had faced ridicule, mockery, and doubt for weeks, and in a single, precise sequence of actions, she had proven the truth of her capability. But even as satisfaction settled over her, Maya knew the day was far from over. She had displayed her strength, yes, but the dynamics of respect, jealousy, and hierarchy were complex. Some would admire her silently. Others would resent it, waiting for another opportunity to challenge or undermine her. Maya understood that recognition was not the end. It was a responsibility, a call to maintain vigilance and continue to refine skill, patience, and judgment. Later that evening, the recruits gathered for debriefing and reflection. The commanding officers highlighted the exercise's key lessons, praising those who had demonstrated leadership, composure, and strategic thinking. Maya's name was mentioned with respect, the instructors noting her ability to maintain calm and execute flawlessly. The 4 mocking recruits listened in stunned silence. Their attempts at mockery had backfired completely. They had assumed weakness, assumed submission, assumed that Maya's quiet demeanor was a sign of fragility. Instead, they had been confronted with a truth they could not ignore. Maya was exceptional, disciplined, and unyielding. Maya didn't gloat, didn't raise her voice, didn't seek revenge. Her satisfaction came from the recognition of effort, the validation of skill, and the quiet certainty that her actions had spoken louder than words ever could. That night, as the barracks settled into a rare quiet, Maya reflected on the events of the day. She understood that mastery was not just about physical skill, but about emotional intelligence, patience, and strategic awareness. The day had tested her in every possible way, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and she had passed not through brute force, but through calm precision and resilience. Her thoughts drifted to the future. The base was full of challenges yet to come, and the world beyond it even more so. But Maya felt ready, prepared, and unafraid. She had faced doubt and mockery, had been underestimated and belittled, and had emerged not only unbroken, but stronger, respected, and undeniably capable. As she lay down to rest, her mind replayed the critical 30-second sequence, the moment that had changed everything. She allowed herself a quiet smile, knowing that the truth of her strength had been revealed, and that no whisper, no mockery, no underestimation could ever diminish it again. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, Maya had earned something far greater than victory in a drill. She had earned recognition, respect, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that she had proven herself on her own terms, without compromise, without arrogance, without apology. And somewhere, deep within, She knew that the world, like the 4 recruits she had silently bested, would never again underestimate her. The morning sun rose over Fort Mitchell, casting a pale, determined light over the base. The air carried a crisp chill, mingled with the faint scent of pine from the surrounding woods. For most recruits, it was just another day, another drill, another exercise to push the limits of endurance. But for Maya, the events of the previous day lingered like a quiet victory, a subtle acknowledgement of a truth that others had only just begun to recognize. The barracks, once filled with hushed whispers and covert glances, had changed. The mocking. For the very recruits who had spent weeks undermining her had grown quieter. Their arrogance was tempered now, replaced with uncertainty and the occasional forced attempt at civility. They still avoided direct confrontation, but their respect, though grudging, had begun to take root. Maya rose early, her body still sore from the tactical drills, but her mind alert and precise. Today's exercises would test more than physical prowess. They would test leadership, patience, and the ability to inspire and guide others under pressure. Maya had spent the early hours reviewing strategies, visualizing every possible scenario, and preparing herself mentally for the challenges ahead. Breakfast was a quieter affair than usual. Many recruits, still buzzing from yesterday's events, watched Maya with a mix of curiosity and cautious admiration. She maintained her calm demeanor, her eyes scanning the room subtly, noting patterns in movement, posture, and social dynamics. It was a skill she had honed over years of training reading people as precisely as she read terrain. Travis, Jenna, Mark, and Olivia approached cautiously. Their previous attempts at mockery had failed spectacularly, and the humiliation lingered in the back of their minds. Today, they seemed uncertain, their usual confidence replaced by tentative calculation. "Hey," Olivia said, her voice carefully neutral, as if testing a boundary she wasn't sure she could cross. "Good job yesterday." Maya acknowledged the comment with a simple nod, her expression calm and unassuming. She didn't need to respond with words. Their acknowledgement, however hesitant, was enough. She understood the psychology of respect. It could not be demanded, only earned and recognized over time. The morning briefing was held on the training field, where the instructors outlined the day's scenario. Unlike yesterday's tactical simulation, today's exercise was designed to test teamwork, decision-making, and adaptability in unpredictable conditions. Teams would be assigned mixed roles, forcing recruits to navigate unfamiliar tasks. While relying on one another's strengths, Maya's team was assigned a complex reconnaissance and defense operation, requiring coordination across multiple positions and careful observation of enemy movements. She approached the assignment with quiet determination, immediately assessing the strengths and weaknesses of her teammates, formulating strategies to maximize efficiency while minimizing risk. As the exercise began, Maya moved with precision and patience, guiding her team through the terrain with subtle gestures and clear instructions. She anticipated potential threats and obstacles, adjusting tactics on the fly. Her ability to maintain composure under pressure became a quiet anchor for her teammates, instilling confidence even in those who had doubted her before. The mocking. 4, now assigned to a separate team, struggled to coordinate effectively. Their previous failures had introduced a hesitation that disrupted their flow. Travis's impulsiveness, Jenna's overcautious approach, Mark's indecision, and Olivia's attempts to compensate for the group's errors created a series of missteps. Maya, observing from a distance, noted these patterns without judgment, understanding that skill and growth often came from recognizing mistakes as opportunities rather than moments of humiliation. Midway through the exercise, an unexpected complication arose. A simulated ambush challenged both teams, forcing them to react quickly under pressure. Maya's team initially hesitated, but her calm guidance and strategic assessment allowed them to respond efficiently. She delegated responsibilities with clarity, ensuring each team member knew their role and could act confidently. The ambush became a turning point. Maya's leadership was subtle but unmistakable. Her teammates moved with coordination, anticipating each other's actions in a way that reflected careful planning and mutual trust. The instructors observed with increasing interest, noting the contrast between Maya's composed, effective guidance and the disarray of the other team. By the end of the exercise, Maya's team had not only completed the mission, but had done so with remarkable efficiency, minimizing errors and demonstrating strong strategic thinking. The instructors debriefed both teams, highlighting lessons learned and emphasizing the importance of adaptability, observation, and teamwork. For the first time, the Mocking Four were forced to confront the reality of their assumptions. Their underestimation of Maya had not only led to personal failure, but had underscored a broader lesson about humility, respect, and the consequences of arrogance. They could no longer ignore her capability, nor could they deny the quiet authority she had begun to command within the group. Later, as the recruits returned to the barracks, Maya's presence seemed to shift the atmosphere. Conversations that once carried undertones of skepticism now included genuine curiosity and tentative admiration. Some approached her with questions about strategy, others with quiet acknowledgement of her skill. Maya responded with calm generosity, sharing insights without condescension, offering guidance without demanding recognition. That evening, during a moment of reflection, Maya considered the subtle but significant changes in the social dynamics around her. She had endured mockery, underestimation, and dismissal, yet she had maintained composure and integrity throughout. The respect she was beginning to earn was not derived from intimidation or confrontation, but from consistent demonstration of skill, resilience, and quiet leadership. The base, usually a place of rigid hierarchy and unspoken social rules, had begun to recognize her authority in a different form through competence, emotional intelligence, and the ability to act decisively under pressure. Maya understood that true respect was earned not through spectacle or bravado, but through consistent, principled action that inspired confidence and trust. Over the next several days, Maya continued to demonstrate her capability across a range of exercises, from tactical simulations to physical endurance challenges. Each success reinforced the lessons learned by her peers, gradually reshaping their perception of her from underestimated recruit to respected leader. The Mocking Four, while still struggling with their pride, began to adjust their behavior. Their interactions with Maya became more cautious, their attempts at derision replaced with tentative engagement. They asked for advice, sought guidance on complex tasks, and in some cases, acknowledged her skill openly. The shift was subtle but undeniable, a transformation driven not by confrontation, but by the quiet demonstration of competence and character. Maya, for her part, continued to focus on her own growth and the well-being of her team. She understood that respect, once earned, carried responsibility. Leadership was not simply about demonstrating superiority, but about guiding others, fostering trust, and ensuring that success was shared and sustainable. In the quiet moments between exercises, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The ridicule, the doubt, and the challenges had tested her not only physically, but emotionally and mentally. Each obstacle had been an opportunity to refine her skill, to strengthen her resolve, and to cultivate the qualities that would define her as a leader. The journey was far from over. Fort Mitchell, with its rigorous training, complex social dynamics, and high expectations, continued to present challenges that would test every aspect of her character. But Maya faced these challenges with quiet confidence, knowing that the respect she had begun to earn was a foundation upon which she could build not just for herself, but for the teams she would lead and the missions she would undertake. As night fell over the base, Maya stood at the edge of the training field, looking out over the shadows cast by the trees and the fading light of day. The quiet stillness was a stark contrast to the chaos of the exercises and the noise of the mess hall. In that stillness, she felt a sense of clarity and purpose. She had proven herself not through words or bravado, but through action, patience, and unwavering integrity. And as she watched the stars emerge in the darkening sky, Maya knew that the journey ahead would continue to test her, challenge her, and demand everything she had to offer. But she also knew that she was ready not just for the challenges of the base, but for the larger battles that life would inevitably present. The transformation was complete. Maya was no longer the quiet, underestimated recruit. She had become a figure of respect and capability, a model of resilience and skill. And while the mocking four and others would take time to fully accept this, the truth of her strength was undeniable and permanent. Her heroic feat, the 30 seconds that had exposed the arrogance of those who doubted her, was no longer a moment of isolated triumph. It had become a turning point, a symbol of what could be achieved through preparation, composure, and quiet determination. Maya knew that true leadership and respect were not granted. They were earned through consistent action, ethical behavior, and the courage to rise above mockery and doubt. And in the quiet aftermath of her success, she embraced the responsibility that came with this recognition, ready to guide, inspire, and protect those around her with skill, integrity, and unwavering resolve. The morning mist clung to Fort Mitchell like a soft veil, transforming the familiar training grounds into a landscape of quiet anticipation. Birds called in the distance, their notes slicing through the cool air, while the faint scent of damp earth mingled with the ever-present aroma of pine. For most recruits, it was just another day in a rigorous routine, but for Maya, it carried the weight of opportunity. Today's exercise was not just another test. It was a final evaluation, a culmination of weeks of grueling training, observation, and personal growth. Maya rose with the precision and focus that had become her signature. She moved through the barracks with quiet efficiency, her uniform crisp, her posture unyielding. The physical soreness from days of exhaustive drills was still present, but her mind was sharper than ever. Every step she took carried purpose, and every glance she cast over her surroundings was deliberate, measuring, calculating. The mess hall, usually a cacophony of chatter and clattering utensils, seemed subdued. Recruits moved with an unusual sense of awareness, their conversations tempered by the shared recognition of Maya's rising authority. The mocking four, Travis, Jenna, Mark, and Olivia, sat together at a corner table, a mix of hesitation and curiosity in their demeanor. They had been forced, through repeated encounters and exercises, to recognize Maya's skill and resilience. Yet, pride still held them back from fully acknowledging her leadership openly. As Maya approached the table, she maintained her calm composure, acknowledging their tentative nods with a simple, measured glance. Words were unnecessary. Her presence alone communicated the balance of confidence, capability, and quiet authority that had gradually reshaped the social dynamics of the base. The instructors called for a briefing, and recruits assembled on the main training field. Today's evaluation was the most complex yet. A simulated hostage extraction, combined with reconnaissance, strategic defense, and team coordination under unpredictable conditions. Every skill Maya had honed, physical, mental, and emotional, would be tested simultaneously. The instructors detailed the scenario. A small team of recruits would be tasked with locating and rescuing hostages from a simulated enemy compound, while another team maintained perimeter security and communication lines. Failure to coordinate, respond to unexpected threats, or adapt under pressure would result in immediate deduction points. Maya's team was assigned the extraction mission. She quickly assessed her teammates. One excelled in observation, another in stealth movement, a third in communication skills. She mentally mapped out a strategy that leveraged each recruit's strengths while compensating for potential weaknesses. As the exercise began, Maya led with quiet authority. Every movement was calculated, every decision deliberate. She positioned her team with precision, ensuring cover and clear lines of sight while maintaining effective communication. Her teammates, initially tentative, began to move with confidence under her guidance. The cohesion and trust that Maya had nurtured over weeks of subtle leadership now manifested in synchronized, efficient action. Meanwhile, the Mocking Four, assigned to perimeter defense, struggled. Their internal conflicts, lingering insecurities, and residual arrogance disrupted coordination. Travis's impulsive decisions caused near exposure to simulated threats, while Jenna's hesitation slowed response time. Mark's indecision compounded these errors, and Olivia's attempts to compensate were inconsistent and ineffective. The contrast between the two teams was stark and undeniable. Maya's team approached the simulated compound with careful stealth. Her instructions were clear, concise, and delivered with calm authority. Each recruit understood their role, anticipating challenges and reacting with precision. The simulation included unexpected variables, alarms, false leads, and sudden obstacles that forced instant adaptation. Maya responded to each with a mix of strategic foresight and composure, guiding her team through complex, high-pressure scenarios that tested both skill and resolve. When they reached the hostages, the final challenge awaited, a locked room, requiring rapid problem-solving under simulated enemy pressure. Maya's analytical mind kicked into overdrive. She assessed the environment, identified vulnerabilities, and devised a solution that allowed her team to unlock the room efficiently while maintaining security protocols. Her ability to remain calm under pressure, combined with quick strategic thinking, ensured the successful completion of the mission. As the team extracted the hostages and returned to the designated safe zone, the instructors observed with growing admiration. Maya's leadership, composure, and tactical proficiency were evident in every decision and action. The exercise concluded and the debriefing began. The instructors praised Maya's team for their exceptional coordination, adaptability, and problem-solving. They highlighted her ability to inspire confidence, maintain control under stress, and leverage each teammate's strengths effectively. For the first time, the entire base, including the Mocking Four, witnessed undeniable proof of her capability and leadership. The four recruits approached Maya hesitantly. Their pride was still evident, but it was tempered by a newfound respect. Travis, usually the first to speak in a confrontational tone, managed a tentative, "Maya, you really led that well. I didn't see it coming." Maya nodded, acknowledging the comment without judgment or condescension. Her calm, composed response reflected her understanding of human dynamics. Respect earned through action did not require public validation. Over the next few days, the social landscape of the base shifted dramatically. Recruits who had previously doubted or dismissed Maya began to engage more openly, seeking guidance and demonstrating a willingness to collaborate. The Mocking Four, while still processing their earlier failures, gradually integrated into a more cooperative dynamic, their respect for Maya no longer tentative but evident. Beyond the base, Maya's reputation began to extend further. Instructors recommended her for advanced training programs and leadership opportunities, recognizing her rare combination of physical skill, strategic thinking, and emotional intelligence. Invitations to participate in specialized missions and mentoring programs followed, each opportunity reinforcing the acknowledgement of her capability and character. Yet, Maya's journey was not solely about recognition. She reflected on the broader lessons embedded in her experience. The ridicule and underestimation she had faced were not just obstacles, They were catalysts that honed her resilience, emotional fortitude, and strategic insight. The moments of injustice, the subtle mockery, and the assumptions of weakness had forced her to confront fear, maintain integrity, and cultivate unwavering self-confidence. Maya also considered the responsibility that came with her growing authority. Leadership was not about exerting dominance or seeking validation. It was about guiding others, fostering trust, and ensuring that collective success was prioritized over individual ego. She embraced this philosophy fully, recognizing that the impact of her actions extended beyond her personal achievements to influence the development, morale, and capability of her peers. As weeks turned into months, Maya continued to excel. Her expertise in tactical operations, her ability to maintain composure under pressure, and her capacity to inspire trust solidified her role as a respected leader. She mentored younger recruits, shared her knowledge openly, and encouraged collaboration over competition. The base itself evolved, reflecting the ripple effects of her quiet but transformative influence. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast the training field in a golden glow, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She thought of the 30 seconds in the mess hall, the moment that had revealed her true capability to those who doubted her. That brief instance had been a catalyst, but it was the consistent application of skill, patience, and integrity that had forged lasting respect and recognition. In that moment of quiet reflection, Maya understood that her journey was emblematic of a larger truth. True strength is measured not by physical prowess alone, but by the ability to rise above mockery, navigate challenges with clarity, and maintain ethical and emotional integrity in the face of adversity. Her experiences at Fort Mitchell had tested her in every conceivable way, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and she had emerged not just victorious, but profoundly transformed. The final twist of her story came unexpectedly. A senior officer, impressed by her performance, approached Maya with a confidential proposal, a specialized assignment requiring discretion, courage, and advanced tactical skill. It was an opportunity that few recruits, let alone new leaders, would ever encounter. Maya accepted, understanding that this mission would test her in new ways, but also recognizing it as a testament to the respect and trust she had earned. As she prepared for the assignment, the mocking four now fully integrated into the team. Dynamic approached her one last time. There were no words of derision, no hesitations, only sincere acknowledgement. In their expressions, Maya saw understanding, respect, and the subtle recognition that true leadership was not about dominance, but about consistency, courage, and the quiet demonstration of capability. Maya's journey at Fort Mitchell had reached a pivotal conclusion, but it was also a beginning of foundation for future challenges, missions, and opportunities. She had transformed from an underestimated recruit into a figure of authority, trust, and inspiration. Her heroism, resilience, and strategic acumen had earned her not just recognition, but a lasting legacy within the base. In the quiet moments before departure for her specialized assignment, Maya looked out over the training field one final time. The shadows of trees stretched long and deliberate, echoing the journey she had undertaken. She breathed deeply, absorbing the weight and significance of the path she had walked, the trials endured, the respect earned, and the triumphs achieved. And, as she stepped forward into the next chapter of her life, Maya carried with her a profound understanding that true heroism is defined not by the applause of others, but by the courage to face doubt, the integrity to act rightly under pressure, and the unwavering commitment to lead with honor, skill, and heart. Her 30-second moment in the mess hall had ignited the spark. Her consistent actions, resilience, and unwavering integrity had forged the flame. And now, as Maya moved forward, she did so not just as a survivor or a skilled recruit, but as a leader a strategist, and a symbol of what courage, determination, and quiet strength could truly achieve. The base of Fort Mitchell would remember her not for a single moment of triumph, but for the enduring example she had set, a standard of excellence, integrity, and unshakable courage that would inspire generations of recruits to come.